Welcome back. It is yours truly, Nick of Movie AV Impulse. And today we are going over the lost and forgotten Hannah Barbera cartoons that I absolutely loved. Unfortunately, a few of these cartoons I obviously caught the reruns. Well, actually most of them because, I was very, very young when some of these came out. And then, I often watch reruns, Saturday morning cartoons, and these cartoons would just completely recycle themselves all the time, and I absolutely loved watching the reruns. So in this particular category, I am going to leave out a lot of cartoons. Hanna-Barbera has really brought in us some fantastic cartoons. So the cartoons that I'm going to be leaving out because I feel like they are not forgotten. Some of them have gotten movies. Things like the Smurfs, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Which I was never really a big fan of Scooby-Doo. I know, that's so crazy. The Flintstones, the Jetsons, which if you watch the Jetsons now, a lot of the things that we have now, they were predicting back then, like video calling and stuff like that. It's absolutely crazy the mindset that they were back in those days to now. Of course, we don't have flying cars and hovering houses above the clouds, but it was just really interesting to see. Like, if you go back and watch the Jetsons, there are so many different things that they were doing that we have nowadays. And also Yogi Bear, things like that. They weren't forgotten. They've got live adaptation movies. The Jetsons never did, but I would love to see that. That would be awesome. And from Yogi Bear, actually my favorite character was Snagglepuss, because he had that famous line, "No exit, stage left." I used to love saying that. Every time when I was a kid, when I was leaving the house, I would just say exit stage left for no damn reason. But anyways, we are going to get into my top 5 lost and forgotten Hanna-Barbera cartoons that I watch the reruns on all the time, and I absolutely love these cartoons. And coming in at number 5 is Johnny Quest. Now, they did reboot this and made like the new adventures of Johnny Quest, but the older one from the 60s, which I believe they came out in 1964, the cartoon was just awesome. I remember, watching them and really thinking to myself, like, what adventure are they going to get into today? Because their father was always on these different adventures, and his little sidekick there, I forgot his name already because I'm on camera, but he used to always say, and he just made the show. He would, pull out his flute and start doing all these magical things, make, snakes and all sorts of stuff, do all these crazy things, and it was just really fun to watch, especially being a kid. It was insane the amount of adventures that they used to have, and like these cartoons can think of. And another reason why I love these older cartoons, because they actually had to put thought into them. They were hand drawn, scene by scene, frame by frame, and it's just so crazy that we just basically throw these shows away that are just so great. Coming in at number 4, which this might surprise a lot of you, but I love this show growing up, watching the reruns on this one, and that's the Harlem Globetrotters. Yes, if you didn't know, they had their own cartoon. They were often getting into a lot of mischief themselves and doing all this crazy stuff. It wasn't just a show about them doing magic tricks with a basketball, but they would often use basketballs to defeat foes and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And it was just one of those things where, as a kid, it's very interesting to watch, because the Harlem Globetrotters have always been around, and I've went to a few of their shows, and it's insane how they made that into a cartoon, and it was very successful. That one came out in 1970, I want to say, and it was just one of those things where, like I said, I loved watching it. And as a kid, I think every kid kind of goes through a phase where they want to or think they can play basketball, and I was one of those kids. I was, was playing basketball all the time because that was the thing to do in our project. So, and that's about the only thing we did have in our project was a basketball hoops with no nets because, I don't know, it's just like a thing. It just never had any nets. Coming in at number 3, and this, although contrary to popular belief, this show came out before the Transformers, and so didn't the toy line, and that is the GoBots. Growing up, I loved the GoBots. Now, the only thing about the GoBots is that they were very simplified. They didn't do all the, transform, and it took, 10 seconds to transform. They were like 1 second, they were there, they were transformed. The vehicles were awesome. They didn't really have any, kind of replica, like there was scooters in it, and there was race cars, and planes and stuff like that, but they didn't have like the budget that the Transformers did. So a lot of people, they just throw the GoBots away, and that was a really awesome show. I actually think that they had better storylines in certain episodes than the Transformers did. So if you've never seen the GoBots, I suggest trying to look for an episode or two on YouTube and go and check that out because it was just such fun adventures. And I love the main character. And it brings back a lot of nostalgia, especially even when I watch it now. Like I said, they were out before the Transformers. I hate that people call them the Transformers knockoff because they're not. They were their own thing. Now, whether who stole what idea about transforming vehicles from who, I don't know. But they did debut their cartoon before the Transformers. So if you didn't know that, a little bit knowledge for you. Coming in at number 2, which I do own this on DVD. I had to get it when I seen it in Walmart decades ago. I think I paid a lot because it was DVD, and it was still back when Blu-ray was just starting to evolve, and this DVD cost me a lot of money. But I bought the entire series of the Wacky Races. The Wacky Races was basically just all the Hannah Barbera cartoon characters, not all of them, but most of them. They had their own little vehicles, and every episode was them racing to the finish line, but they would just run into all these mishaps and things that they had to solve to get to that first place. And they would basically I think this is where Mario Kart got a lot of the inspiration, because they would do whatever they could to knock the first place guy out, or second or third. Whoever was in front of them, they did whatever they could to basically knock out their competition. So Wacky Races, if you've never seen that, if you come across it in Walmart, it will not fail you. And my favorite character in there was the dog. He was the sidekick of one of the characters. I'll throw a little clip. But Muttley, he was amazing. His laugh was just incredible. I loved it. I used to do that laugh when I was a kid just to imitate him. It was great. And last but not least, well, let me throw an honorable mention. Richie Rich was awesome. And I loved the Pebbles and Bam Bam show. That was just absolutely great. Why they canceled it so early, it didn't really take off like I think they wanted it to. But like I said, when it comes to Hanna-Barbera, if you look at their catalog, I could do honorable mentions for the next 15 minutes. You've got a whole bunch of stuff. Powderpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Laboratory. All those can be honorable mentions, but those weren't old forgotten. I mean, people still remember these because they're most recent. They were on Cartoon Network. So a lot of them are not forgotten. But this one, my number 1, might be forgotten. But as soon as I say it, a lot of you people are going to be like, oh, yeah. And that's Hong Kong Phooey. I absolutely loved, this dog that, would go around and just start whooping people's asses. And, I kind of always got the hint that he didn't really know Kung Fu, but he did, kind of thing. And his sidekick, the cat there, Spot the Cat, he was also, you know, always helping him out and getting him out of mischief and mishaps and all sorts of stuff. But Hanna-Barbera is really like the foundation of cartoons. They brought us so many great ones. So I encourage you to hop on Google and go check out all the different cartoons that Hanna-Barbera has let out, because there are so many great ones. Another two that I used to watch all the time as a kid and growing up was the Pound Puppies, the Smurfs. There's just so many that they came out with. It's crazy. Oh, even Josie and the Pussycats. I used to watch them too, which I think they also got their live adaptation movie, which most of them were terrible. I think the Flintstones was like the best one that I can remember. The Smurfs was terrible. Also, Scooby-Doo was like alright, but I think it was more Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar, who didn't have a crush on her as a teenager. If you said you didn't, you're lying out of your ass. But yeah, so those are my top 5 great Hanna-Barbera cartoons that are forgotten. If you haven't seen any of them, you got to check them out. Try to find them. See if they're on a streaming service of some sort, because they're all great cartoons. And don't be dissing the GoBots. They were awesome growing up. And like I said, I know Transformers just like outshine them 1,000%. But I had a lot of those GoBot toys growing up, and they were awesome. So go check those out. And I will see you on Sunday with another. See you then.
Thank you.